what can I even say? I didn't even know this was a thing. Hey there, everyone. That sexy nerd is back again, and apparently there's a history of birds trying to mate with human heads. I thought I just saw it one time. One time. Why is there a history? What is wrong with birds? Is like this the way the dinosaurs are getting back at us? It's like you inherited the earth. Now we'll mate with you? What? um I really don't know what to say. I honestly don't. Like I just want to know what is happening in here, and yeah, I'm probably gonna have a lot to say about this, or a lot to think about after this, and I'm probably not gonna be very. I'm probably not gonna be the same person after watching this video. But without further ado, please smash that like button if you want to see more sexy and nerdy content, and subscribe if you think I deserve it. Now let's do this thing, y'all.
How does this keep happening? All you did was go
What?
bird watching with your friends to hopefully learn more about the world around you. Instead, all you've learned is that life, not unlike this bird, comes at you fast. That's how you end up with an aggressive cock on your back. And yes, that is the Chernobyl pigeon's other name. He's not the only
Cock
victim.
of the
There's an
woods?
uncomfortably extensive history of birds of every feather trying to make two beasts with one back
Really?
together, with humans. Including the biggest birds currently
Ostrich?
walking
Oh,
the
yes,
earth.
yes,
The
I've
rabbit
seen
hole
that,
of illicit
actually.
avian liaisons goes way deeper than even I was expecting. And if I
There is a guy on YouTube who I'm always disturbed by it, but nobody else seems to know. But yeah, the ostrich does this mating dance right in front of this guy, and he runs towards him and just does this dance, and I'm like, that's a mating dance, guys. Why is everybody thinking this is so enjoyable? He wants to have sex with him. Like, huh? You go like, it's so weird. I mean, wow. I guess he has a special relationship with his ostrich. I don't know.
had a nickel for every time a bird tried to make a man his wife,
Oh my
that
God.
amounts to more sense than a man that just sits there and lets it happen. What you're gonna learn
is it
is
always
the
a
chance a
man?
down bad dinosaur tries to force you to crash cloaca is low, but it's far from zero. But sometimes it's
Emo,
not the bird's
not the
fault.
emo.
Parrots
What?
are a lot like us. They're highly intelligent, they can talk, and they have erogenous zones just like humans. Think of the Seven scene from Friends. The problem is, if you pet them
I
the
just
wrong
watched
way,
Friends.
they will feel some type of way. It's
wait,
been
what is
said
that?
that you should
What the
only
hell?
ever. The problem is, if you pet them the wrong way, they will feel some type of way. It's been said that you should only ever pet your parrot above the neck. The beak, the cheeks, the top of the head are all okay. The wings, the back, the belly, and the chest should be avoided since those are spots only their mate in the wild would touch. Not only can touching them turn you into your parrot's mate in their eyes, you can also trigger hormonal imbalances along with behavioral issues like biting, screaming, feather plucking, excessive self-service,
Wow.
and even self-mutilation. In fact, in some
no.
cockatoos, it can even cause cloaca prolapse. Don't Google that. It goes beyond just
Yeah,
leading
I
a
know.
bird on. Starting its engine with no destination can be a blight on their health. In the words of
Cloaca
Deadpool,
prolapse.
they're about 80% G-spot, and they will let you know about it. And if it's not by hip thrusting your head,
Oh,
it's in the
no.
form of regurgitating in your ear to show their affection. In this
Huh?
case, it's not the bird's fault. In fact, there was one creator who went out of her way to repeatedly touch up her parrot because she thought it was funny.
no,
Whole
no,
time she was
no.
getting molested with an overachieving reptile.
No.
But there is one parrot that needs absolutely no help getting excited by humans. And you'd think this struggle parrot would pass
Oh,
after
no.
already getting railed by evolution. The
Yeah.
kakapo is an indictment against all
Kakapo,
birds.
yeah.
It's a kiwi muppet with wings too short to soar and body too fat for flight.
I
and
don't
Derek Keel and the
understand-
breastbone shy being able to fly.
To be fair, I don't understand how this animal is still alive. It should have been hunted into extinction like the dodo. I'm sorry. I'm not. Well, I mean, I'm not saying that. I'm not gonna wish anything against this thing, but come on, a bird that can't fly and that is that small should have been eaten up already.
The kakapo also regularly forgets that they forgot how to fly, with researchers
Oh, God.
witnessing startled kakapos run up a tree and jump, only to remember gravity and face plant on the ground. They also only breed once every 2 to 3 summers, and mothers have been known to accidentally crush eggs in the process.
Of course.
Safe to say the underachieving avocado chicken has nothing positive going for it. Or at least they did, until humans introduced unnatural predators to their
Kiwi or
homeland.
cat,
The result
yeah.
is that today, there's currently 240 green dodos alive and living in a few tightly controlled islands of New Zealand. But the big issue with being on nature's no-flight list is how kakapos even find a mate. The answer is the male will dig a bowl-shaped depression in the ground and make deep, booming, amorous advertisements. The good news is these calls can travel up to 3 miles away. Bad news is they gotta make these booming booty calls 8 hours a day, every day, for up to 4 months straight. And
Whoa.
worse, like all dating apps, sometimes all they attract is a predator. So as you can guess, a lot of kakapos end up mateless and dateless, and with a Kermit-colored bowling ball living for up to nearly a century, that is a lot of romantic buildup. So much that scientists have witnessed them try to make interspecies spanky to a seabird, a fallen tree branch, and even an extra curvy piece of driftwood. And there's another problem.
Wow.
In 1997, one kakapo
I'm
was
sorry,
born
I
up to nearly a century. That is a lot of romantic buildup. So much that scientists have witnessed them try to make interspecies spanky to a seabird, a fallen tree branch, and even an extra curvy piece of driftwood. And there's another problem.
okay. So they're backed up. They're really, really backed up and sexually frustrated. Got it. You got it. Ooh, that's messed up.
1997, one kakapo was born in the bird sanctuary on Codfish Island, but was hand-raised by humans after nearly dying to a sickness at 3 weeks old. The parrot would survive, but would imprint on humans and show zero interest in his own kind. In fact, he would only direct his booming invitations to humans. This made him a poor breeding parrot, but an excellent ambassador for his endangered peers. And in 2009, zoologist Mark Carradine would visit Codfish Island to help shed some light on the species. In response, Sirocco the kakapo would proceed to violently mate with the back of Mark's head, a moment that immortalized both of them.
That's
Yes,
hilarious,
that's where
though.
the shagged by a rare parrot clip came from, and Mark wasn't the only one. You see, Sirocco was a certified goon. He would even set up shop by an outhouse, so any human looking to relieve themselves would be chased by the feather felon looking to do the same, to the point where they had to put a fence around the loop. If Sirocco was anything, it was persistent, and scientists tried to take advantage of his preference with that. That is a bucket hat, lose the B and add an F, and it's designed to capture Sirocco's liquid daycare to use to help further the kakapo population. The problem is, where most birds only need a few seconds to get their rocks off, kakapo coitus can infamously last an hour. So, it didn't work. Sirocco barely cooperated, and the helmet now resides in a New Zealand museum. But kakapo numbers are on the rise, Sirocco's still alive and well, and Mark will surely never wear green around Pepe Le Parrot again.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the first time a sensually explicit hat was used to save a species. Which is ironic, because parrots are also the closest relative of the falcon. And in the 70s, the peregrine falcon nearly got wiped out in America thanks to the widespread use of the infamous pesticide DDT. This chemical would thin the eggshells of the falcon, making them brittle enough to break when the parents would sit on them. The peregrine population would nearly flatline from about 4,000 breeding pairs down to only 324. That was until falconer Les Boyd had an idea. Human-raised falcons also become imprinted on humans, often with familiar consequences. So he came up with a bucket hat designed to collect the
remember
falcon's
this!
fetal broth for breeding purposes. But it wasn't as simple as just putting on a
it's
hat.
weird.
There's a process. First, you have to wear the exact same clothes, including the hat, every time the falcon sees you, so it can get used to your outfit. Then you'd really have to get in your bag by mimicking the female falcon's vocalizations and even bobbing and bowing your upper body like a she-bird would. You'll know the falcon's catching feelings when he starts doing ledge displays and delivering food to you, which, of course, you have to accept. Eventually, time comes to collect, and that involves a male falcon flying past your head multiple times until eventually landing on your hat and proceeding to make love to your headwear. But there is no one and done. You'd have to repeat the falcon fornication process 2 to 3 times a day for up to 3 months straight. And remember, falcons are monogamous, so you're committing to a lifetime of skull bashing. Boyd's work wouldn't go wasted, as today, there's over 3,000 pairs of breeding peregrines in America, and most wild falcons in the US are descended from those captive, potentially hat-humping birds of prey. And you can thank the dedication of those falcon enthusiasts, so hats off to them, figuratively. But it wouldn't have been
And
possible
literally.
without the bird's proclivity for getting the hots for humans. In fact, science might actually prove it. In 2002, a study found that chickens might have the same preference for human faces as we do. What had happened was, scientists trained 4 hens to respond to the average human male
terrifying.
face and did the same for 2 roosters, except with the average female face. They
What?
did it by taking 35 male faces and merging them to create the
That is
average
hell.
male face, and again, but for females, and then they would show these chickens these faces on a screen, and the hens would be rewarded with food only for pecking on the male face, and the same with roosters, but for female faces. They did this until the chickens could get it right 3 out of 4 times. Then the test actually started. This time they used 7 faces, the average male face here, and the average female face here, and they combined those 2 faces to create the average human, along with 2 faces with exaggerated female traits here, and 2 exaggerated male faces here, meaning the faces would get more feminine as you move to the right. Then they would show one of the 7 faces to the chickens at random, but this time they recorded how many pecks each face got. Think of it as like a poultry approval rating. At the same time, they took 14 college students and had them rate those same faces on a scale from 1 to 10. By taking the human ratings and the chicken pecks, they found that the humans and chickens had virtually identical answers, meaning the faces that the humans found the most attractive with no training were the ones that got the biggest reception from the chickens. But while it's interesting, it doesn't exactly prove that chickens want to bone people. But one study proved exactly that for the biggest birds on Earth. In the early 90s, a study was done to explain why ostrich farms in the UK were producing less eggs, even though farmers swore the dino birds displayed courtship behavior every time they checked. Well, it turned out the ostriches were more attracted to people, and in the study published by British Poultry Science, 70% of the birds in one farm had displayed to humans. That display resembles an aroused Looney Tune, and it means the Jurassic drumstick wants to deliver 10 honest inches of ostrich sausage. In fact, it was believed the males spent so much time trying to solicit another species that it led to them being rejected by their own. And even if they didn't, it was proven that the ostriches got more frisky when there was a human around to watch. Some even had preferences. Some preferred men, some women, and for some, just being a person with a pulse makes you their type. I'd like to add that male ostriches can be up to 9 feet tall and weigh 300 pounds with life-canceling claws, so that's more than workplace harassment. That is a death threat. It's even a threat to the ostriches, because according to Dr. Charles Paxton, the more they yearned for humans, the less they knew what to do with their own kind. And one male nearly broke his leg trying to top a female the wrong way. And that's not the only rat tat on record trying to ravish a human. With emus, you get the same problem, with human hand raising believed to leave emus liable to assault a person. One man, Des Fallon, even learned how to attract emus by laying on his back, pedaling an invisible bicycle, and sounding like a half-expired cat. Somehow that brings all the birds to the yard, and yes, it's proven to work. Some say it mimics an injured animal and piques their curiosity, but some men have nearly been emusculated in that same position. Either way, this method seems to work on 8 out of 9 emus.
Why are you trying
Buddy
this?
in the back wasn't having it. But there might be another explanation, one that could be a personal problem for me. There's another theory that says emus are attracted to blacks and blues, and it's because when emus are romantically open for business, the skin below their eyes and on their necks turn a bright blue. Also, the males are the prize, because in emu culture, the females court the guys. Well, my favorite color is blue, and I wear black every day of my life, if you know what I mean. So it's possible the combination could make me look like a receptive female.
Imagine if girls had to court men. If I had to like try and date men. Imagine that shit. Imagine the world. That is the weirdest thing ever to imagine, right? Girls would be like, hey man, what? I can't even do it because I'm a dude.
Which could be a problem since emus will make moves on humans even if they already have a mate. So while it's rare, the chances an amorous Australian outback turkey turns you out isn't zero. Speaking of turkey, I was once told by a hunter friend that you never want to wear bright colors like red, white, or blue, and I thought it was because you might get the attention of a gobbler. Turns out it's so you don't accidentally get Pat Tillman by a fellow hunter. But turkeys are also on morally questionable timing. Martin Sheen and Edgar Hall of Penn State conducted an experiment where they took a taxidermied female turkey to see how many features they could remove before the males rejected it. Well, they removed the tail, the feet, the wings, all until there was just a disembodied head. That didn't stop them. And it turns out the gobblers prefer the bodiless head over a headless body, and it's believed it's because the head is the only thing the male sees after they mount a female, literally because their fat, pudgy body blocks the rest. So basically, no head is a no-go, but the whole bird attraction thing might just be a matter of visual cues. The penguin is a great example, and another bird with highly questionable mating behavior. So much that Dr. George Levick's studies from spending an entire breeding cycle around Delhi penguins was vaulted for nearly a century for how traumatizing the things he witnessed were. But on a wholesome note, it's believed that because penguins have no natural land predators, they're not only fearless around humans, they see us as bigger, awkward penguins. And it's half true. They have to worry about aerial assaults from skuas and petrels, and in the water, they're a leopard seal luncheon. Now, this doesn't apply to all penguins. The Antarctica waddlers are definitely bolder from living in a freeze-dried desert, but it's very possible for penguins to form attachments to humans. Like this famous video of Cookie the blue penguin cuddling up to people and laughing while doing it. It's adorable. Yeah, I'm really sorry to do this to you.
Yeah.
That penguin is 100% trying to mate with that man's
I
hand. In a
imagine.
couple seconds, and it would have been cookies and cream.
I
So
imagine.
penguin excited to see you is most likely trying to get one off on you. And if you don't believe that, penguins have been recorded making love to the ground. To completion. But this is all lust. The question is, can a bird fall in love with a human?
No.
I don't know. But one came close.
What?
This is the white-naped crane of Mongolia and northeast China. But thanks to the loss of their wetlands, they're one of the rarest cranes in the world, with only a couple thousand left in the 90s. Luckily, Chris Crow and his wife Walnut would become a beacon to the crane cause. Except Walnut was actually a white-naped herself, and her story reads like a screenplay. Walnut was born in 1981 as part of the International Crane Foundation, a foundation where humans help raise crane chicks for the wild to help boost the population. Walnut would provide a negative contribution to the census, as by age 23, she had no children and had allegedly murked 2 males, with 2 suitors found with their bellies sliced open by claws. Allegedly. The theory is, some crane chicks wake up choosing siblicide and try to kill each other and have to be removed and separated, and it's believed that this was the case with Walnut, and all that isolation around just humans meant she imprinted on humans.
Is that what inspired the damn Indominus Rex from Jurassic World? Remember she killed her sibling when she was born? Like, that's wild if it was.
But this also meant that Walnut would be condemned to live a life alone, with no chance at ever having children. Well, that was until the crane met a crow. Chris Crow had worked with California Condor and wolf reintroduction programs, but in 2003, he landed in Patuxent, where his job was to raise the world's rarest crane, the whooping crane. But the whooping crane work was only seasonal, so when he was eventually offered a full-time crane keeping position at the Smithsonian Conservation Biology Institute, he took it, and his first avian assignment was a genetically valuable crane that was born in Wisconsin, transferred to Denver, then Cincinnati, and finally in 2004, the Smithsonian. That's when Chris Crow met a crane named Walnut. Like a true tsundere, Walnut gave Crow zero love, growling at him and flashing territorial displays at him like a full-body middle finger. But Crow also noticed that Walnut would go out of her way to ignore attention from other males, so Crow had an idea. That summer, he would perform a crane courtship dance around Walnut, and not only did she eventually fold and give in, she would initiate a classic crane love duet, which Chris would add to when no one was around. Crow would take it further. Courtship dance around Walnut, and not only did she eventually fold and give in, she would initiate a classic crane love duet, which Chris would add to when no one was around. Crow would take it further by hand-delivering nest material to Walnut the way her mate in the wild would, and eventually, Walnut got comfortable enough with Chris to allow him to touch her. At one point, Walnut appeared to invite Crow to mate with her. With Walnut fully seeing Crow as her mans, Chris would go through all the motions of crane mating, except he'd artificially inseminate her with the seed of another crane. Normally, the process would involve multiple people holding the bird down, just a stressful time for everyone. But with Walnut fully committed to Chris, it couldn't be easier, and a commitment it was. Crow would go on to work with other cranes who would eventually get paired up with cranes of their own. But not Walnut, she was his. And cranes can live for 60 plus years, and losing a mate can be physically and mentally damaging, so Chris knew he was in it for the long haul. Even when Walnut was no longer part of the breeding program, Chris would still dance with her and would even help her incubate her unfertilized eggs.
Really
Walnut
nice.
would pass away January 2nd, 2024 at the age of 42, leaving behind 8 children, and of course Chris. She didn't just contribute children, her story brought eyes to the plight of the white-naped crane, who today number in the mid-6,000s. But none will ever be as special to Chris than the one named Walnut. And on that note, that's gonna do it for this video. Drink water, hug your mother,
really nice.
don't get inappropriate with your parrot.
Yeah,
I'ma see y'all in the next one.
Macaroni penguin. No. Please no. Please don't try and.
Everybody around here's got one.
Aw.
I'm just letting him off his leash. He's always running into people's houses and stealing goldfish, and you're a real nuisance, eh?
Cute. And I thought the dolphin episode was weird. I mean, well, it was actually really nice. It's good on him, and very committed to his job, and clearly, yeah, he loves what he does, and that's really inspiring story. It's really nice. Wow. It wasn't as perverted as I thought. I thought it was going to be as uncomfortable as the Bill Cosby episode on Nostalgia Critic. But yeah, okay. I mean, very well done. But a nice ending. But like, yeah, the Falcons mating with the hats is weird, and so is the you know, the little fat parrot, but you know, whatever. But yeah, that was actually a good video. I love that episode. Let me know what you guys think of that, and did you learn anything on this one? Please smash that like button if you want to see more sexy and nerdy content, and subscribe if you think I deserve it. And remember, it's time for my Patreon for all my latest reactions to all my latest videos. And I'll see you on the next episode.